Cowboys Pregame Live is brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, and by SWBC Mortgage. Join the more than 120,000 customers that we've helped to find their happier way home. Visit swbcmortgage.com to find a pro today.
It is game day in Arlington yet again as the Dallas Cowboys open the doors at AT&T Stadium for the 2024 home opener, welcoming in the New Orleans Saints to town as the often imitated, never equaled Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders get the fans riled up at the Miller Lighthouse in Arlington. We get you set for football on Cowboys Pregame Live, presented by WinStar World Casino and Resort. Welcome into the Star, everybody, in the Globe Life studios. We've got Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Glad you're with us. Week 2 is here. The Dallas Cowboys are 1-0 after their 33-17 win over the Cleveland Browns last week. They have an opportunity to beat another 1-0 team as the New Orleans Saints come to town today. They've won 16 straight regular season games at home. The Cowboys have had some success there. When it doesn't come to the postseason, we've got to talk about the postseason a little bit. Yeah, but how much weight does that carry for this Cowboys team going into the home opener?
You know, I don't believe it carries much weight at all. I mean, when you talk about 16-0 at home, I mean, that's a great for the Cowboys fans and all that great stuff. But to me, Mike McCarthy just done a great job of having his team ready to play each and every week, starting fast. So to me, it's all about the next game and making sure you handle your business, and that's what this Cowboys team has been ready to do.
Spoken like a true pro. Look at that guy right there. Listen up, it does not matter. Aside from the fact that home field advantage is real. So Cowboys Nation, make sure you guys show up and show out in a major way, because for whatever reason, Dak Prescott and these Dallas Cowboys like to put up a lot of points when you guys are present at the crib and out there in Arlington.
And I agree with you, both of y'all. It does matter to me.
Okay.
Home field advantage. Jimmy Johnson always told, get home field advantage. Start fast, finish strong. And if you got the fans rocking from the start, hey, all you got to do is throw that ball and run it. You'll be okay.
There you go. Get a big lead early, let the defense eat, and try and build some things from there. That's what the Cowboys are going to try and do today. Now, Dak Prescott has been successful at doing so at home. Look at his win percentage since 2022 in his own house. 14-1. That is an unbelievable mark, not to mention points per game, completion percentage, passing touchdowns per game, and then, of course, that all kind of adds up to equal the passer rating. Isaiah, I'll start with you on this one. What has made Dak Prescott so successful at home?
It's called comfort, Kyle. You know what I'm saying? It's just something about being at your house. You know what I'm saying? If I go to Barry's house, I got to take my shoes off, and I got to kick them off. You know, I might not be that comfortable. But when I'm at the crib, I get to do whatever it is that I want to do. And that's exactly how Dak feels when he steps inside his house. He's at his locker. He's with his doctors. He's with his team, his sideline. He knows exactly where the play clocks are at, and he understands everything about this field. He knows all the dimensions, and there is nothing that is going to be surprising to him when he steps on this field.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%, Isaiah. It's all about being comfortable. You have that routine, whether it's coming from the hotel after meetings, getting to the locker room. You have that comfortability about where everything is at. The time, you don't have to worry about fans getting super loud on third down. The communication is key when you're talking about offensively, making those adjustments, making those audibles out there. So to me, it's all about comfort, and Dak Prescott is extremely comfortable in AT&T Stadium.
Y'all stealing my thunder. I mean, yes, he's comfortable. Yes, everything's in place. The fans are there. He knows every crack and crevice on the field. And oh, yes, Isaiah, don't take your shoes off because you may be a little toe sticky.
What does that even mean?
You can't go to Barry's house and take your shoes
You got to
off.
take your shoes off. You got to take your shoes off in the house.
He's comfortable,
Yes.
and he looks it whenever he plays at home. And I mean, the numbers tell one story. The film is another one. He is uber confident. And I would be confident, too, if I was throwing the football to CeeDee Lamb and what he's been doing throughout his home career as well. I mean, Isaiah, when it comes to CeeDee Lamb, he's one of the best in all of football, but he does a lot more than just catch the ball at home. He's yards after the catch and a whole lot more than that.
Yeah, you talk about one of the best yards after catch receivers in the NFL today. So when you're able to find a one-on-one situation with CeeDee Lamb, he is exactly who you want to go to. Shoot, throw two guys out there. It really doesn't matter. But CeeDee Lamb is that go-to guy for the Dallas Cowboys. He is the comfort food for Dak Prescott. We know we talk about the tight ends a little bit, but we even saw it last week. CeeDee Lamb wasn't even at training camp all training camp. And this dude still was able to show up and show out last week against the Cleveland Browns. Look for them to continue to build on that, because every year, statistically, he's grown.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb is a bona fide beast, especially at home, like you just said. I mean, when you talk about it, this is a guy that can go out there and gets the yards after the catch. He's basically the security blanket for Dak Prescott. And when you look at that Saints secondary, I don't see anybody that can hang with CeeDee Lamb out there, especially with Lattimore being out this game. So for me, if the Saints do try to heat up Dak Prescott like they did Bryce Young last week, then it's going to be a mistake because that's leaving CeeDee Lamb one-on-one. If they do that, man, he might go for 200.
10 targets last week, maybe 15 to 20 this week, and hey, he's your second best running back because we use him everywhere on the field.
And there's a lot of ways that they'll look to utilize him today, especially because the Cowboys may be without one of their top pass catchers. When we come back on Cowboys Pregame Live, what is the game status for Jake Ferguson? Is he out with a knee injury, and how could they step up in his absence?
This segment is brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
Welcome back into Cowboys Pregame Live as we lead you into kickoff between the Cowboys and the Saints in Week 2. Let's take a look at the inactive list for the Dallas Cowboys because there's a couple names on there that you may want to know. And it starts things off right there at the top. Jake Ferguson, the reigning Pro Bowl tight end for this Cowboys offense, who suffered an injury late in that season opener against the Cleveland Browns last week, is unavailable. He is inactive. So is John Stevens Jr., another tight end down at the bottom that possibly could have seen some more snaps, some more targets if Ferguson was out. Well, both of them are out. The Cowboys have elevated Princeton Fant from the practice squad. But, gentlemen, this is a tough loss for the Cowboys. What kind of impact does Jake Ferguson bring, and how will they miss him today?
Well, this is definitely a big-time loss for the offense when you talk about the Dallas Cowboys because Jake Ferguson, to me, is a mismatch nightmare when you talk about linebackers trying to cover him or safeties trying to cover him. And then if you try to put a corner on him out there, he uses that big body frame to just get the rebound over him. So, to me, losing your security blanket and your number 2 option when you talk about the passing attack in Jake Ferguson is a big-time loss, but it could open a door for some of the young guys to go out there and have their opportunity as well.
Bigger for me because we're trying to establish a run game, and he's a fighter. You know, he's not the greatest blocker in the world, but he'll get in there, he'll grind down, and he'll buckle down and try to block some people. So that's a big loss.
I think you miss him from the standpoint of they like to heat up the quarterback. We saw what they did last week against Young over in Carolina, and if they do that, that means that they're going to a single high safety. Well, the weak spot, as you know, Barry, with single high safety is the seam. So Jake Ferguson does a really good job of getting vertical and finding those weak spots in the zone. That might be sorely missed today if the young guys can't step up.
Yeah, Jake Ferguson did talk about earlier in the week that there was zero pain when it came to his knee. He felt good about the knee. It was the stability that he had a question mark in. And if there was any question on cutting ability, stability, and if he's not 100% ready to go, they knew that they were going to take a conservative approach with Jake Ferguson. I have a feeling this is kind of what that is. Yeah. And at the same time, you got to trust the training staff and what they see day in and day out. So Ferguson not available, but it does open the door for some of these other tight ends. Let's go out to AT&T Stadium and hear from Nick Eatman with more on that.
Thank you, Kyle. And yes, we'll be looking at this tight end position, of course, with Jake Ferguson out. Also, John Stevens out for a second game. So that means Luke Schoonmaker, last year's second-round pick, all eyes will be on him. He says he just needs an opportunity. Last year he played all 17 games, but behind Ferguson's Pro Bowl season, he really didn't get a lot of opportunities. He's going to get some today. Of course, Dak Prescott talked about the fact that he's got a lot of confidence in all of his receivers, including Schoonmaker. You know, he's been part of the off-season trips up to the Oregon and the team, the offense kind of gelling together. Schoonmaker was a part of that, so he's going to get a chance to do some things today. Behind him, of course, Brevin Spanford. They're going to bring up Princeton Fant from the practice squad. Hunter Lipke should get some snaps as well there from the fullback position, turning into really an H-back, but really we're going to be looking at Luke Schoonmaker more than anybody. All right, Kyle, back to you.
Thank you very much, Nick. He brings up a great point. There are different ways that this Cowboys offense can attack the absence of Jake Ferguson. I know you have had your eyes on Luke Schoonmaker.
Oh, yes.
You want to see more out of the second-round pick. How does he do that today?
Well, for me, this is a great opportunity for Schoonmaker to go out there and show what the ability that made him a second-round pick out there, whether it's attacking the ground game and being dominant blocking or winning those one-on-one opportunities out there in the passing attack. But he has got to step up and at least show a flash of what made him that second-round pick. Or he has the possibility of opening the door for guys like Spanford or even John Stevens down the road to take some of those reps away from him.
I was going to say, give me the big fella. I want the big fella, Brevin Spann-Ford. We've heard a lot about him, obviously, in this offseason. We heard a lot about him in training camp. This dude is 6'7", 260 pounds. If you guys were ever going to play Madden and you guys were going to create a tight end, this is him. So I think this is an opportunity for him to not only step up in the blocking game because of his size, his physicality, but also in the red zone. If you have a big fella, I heard that Shaq might be on the sideline today. If you got a big fella down there in the paint, let him go down there and post up and body up in the red zone and give him the rock. This might be his coming out party.
It certainly could be, and there's a Cowboys thought process here that the tight end position is valued. You're going to see just how much that depth is valued today. By the way, Marshawn Lattimore unavailable in the inactives for the New Orleans Saints, one of the top cornerbacks in football. When we come back, though, they have an offensive attack to fear as well. Derek Carr has been playing some really good football for the Saints. How much is he going to challenge Mike Zimmer in this Cowboys defense?
This segment was brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys. Closed captioning is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today.
Welcome back to Cowboys Pregame Live. The Saints have been on an absolute tear over the last couple of games. This is over their last 6 contests. The Saints are 5-1. Look at the way that they've been dominating on the offensive side of the football. They take care of the rock. They convert on third downs. And more importantly, the most important stat of all, they put up points. And that's exactly what the Saints have been doing. They're 5-1 in their last 6. They put up 47 points in Week 1 against the Carolina Panthers. Nate, I'll start with you. Who's the biggest threat on that Saints offense?
Alvin Kamara. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, you did.
I said Kamara place. Kamara. He drives like 100 miles an hour. He can catch coming out of the backfield. He can run that he can run that rock. I'm hoping we can hold him down up on 120 total yards today. But this kid is special. If he's clicking, then everybody else feeds after that.
I agree with you on that one, Big Nate Dog, but I'm going to go ahead and go on the outside of the perimeter. One of their weapons, Olave, on the outside. Now, last game, he only had 2 targets out there, 2 receptions, I believe, for 13 yards. So they're going to try to get this guy the ball and more involved in the offense. This is one of the smoothest route runners there is in the National Football League, whether it's short, intermediate, deep routes. He can give you all the flavors you want to. So we're going to see what Diggs and my guy Carson can do on the outside with limiting a guy like Olave at that wide receiver position.
Yeah, both of those guys are threats. I respect you guys' opinion. Kamara, you know what I'm saying, Olave, but I'm going with Mr. Swiss Army Knife himself, Taysom Hill. You don't know what this dude's going to do. You line up there with a defensive back, he's going to run you over with the ball. You go out there with a linebacker, he's going to throw the ball over your head. You go out there with a safety, he's going to line up and run a route. You don't know what he's going to do. He plays tight end, he plays fullback, he plays running back, he plays quarterback. He literally plays every position offensively for these guys. And the reason why that's a problem is because when you get to the red zone, you want to know exactly what somebody's role is and what they do so that you can take care of your responsibilities. When he's able to do absolutely everything, now you have to plan for everything, and there is no process of elimination.
Barry, you sold me on Chris Olave, though. It sounded like he was on your fantasy team last week, and he didn't put up enough points for you.
He didn't do it for me, man.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. All right, let's take a look at some of these running backs, because like Isaiah just alluded to, it's not just one guy, not one player that can have an impact. But Alvin Kamara has done as much as possibly one player could do. Look at Christian McCaffrey. We all talk about his impact. Ezekiel Elliott was one of the best in football in the early parts of his career, yet Alvin Kamara is better than most everybody else whenever it comes to games with 100-plus yards from scrimmage. And we put this up there because he hit number 50 last week. How do they slow him down, Barry?
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And this is a matchup for the linebackers out there. I'm talking about Kendricks and Overshown out there, because when you look at a guy like Kamara and what he can do, he's one of the smoothest athletes I've ever seen with the football in his hand, whether it's catching the football or running the ball out of the backfield. He's not just a running back. He's not just an in-between the tackles or bounce it outside the tackles. This guy had 75 receptions out of the backfield last year on 86 targets. This is going to be a guy that gets involved in the screen game. He loves to run those option routes against the linebackers. So, Kyle, for me, this is the matchup you got to keep your eyes on. The linebackers, Kendrick, Overshown versus the receiver out of the backfield, Kamara.
I tell you what, this guy, 6'1", 228 pounds. He's slippery. But when you run up against him, what they call a contact running, where you hit him and he bounces off, because people don't respect his size and his power. This guy's very explosive.
He's very explosive, but that's not the only issue about this is that's not the only guy you have to worry about.
Yeah.
These guys have scored 47 points, like you guys heard Kyle talk about last week against the Panthers. But prior to that, in Week 18, they scored 48. So this is the only team in the NFL who scored back-to-back 47-plus points in the league. He's somebody you have to worry about, but you better keep your eyes peeled on everybody else because they can put some points on the board.
It's not just one person. That's exactly what the Saints want you to think going into this matchup, and they're going to test this Cowboys defense. When we come back, how is the NFL continuing to grow the game internationally and in a subtle way? Nicole Hutchinson catches up with us from AT&T Stadium, tells you more about the new initiative. Roger Goodell in the NFL continues to grow this game of football on an international stage. More games overseas in Germany and London and so many other places across the globe. And then you also had a game earlier this year in Brazil. But how are these players representing where they come from and their heritage week in and week out when they play for these NFL franchises? With more on that, let's go back to AT&T Stadium and check in with Nicole Hutchinson.
Yeah, well, Kyle, there will be 12 Cowboys players that will be wearing a sticker from a country that they either have a connection with or they've just done some community work in that country. And I talked to a few of them in the locker room and asked them, what does it mean for you guys to be able to represent that country? They said, well, wearing that star on your helmet is probably one of the best things of their life, but that sticker, it just means a little bit more, and they're representing them from back home.
I'm wearing the American Samoa flag on my helmet, representing my parents, my ancestry. Both of my parents were born in American Samoa, so it really means a lot to me to be able to put that on my helmet.
Growing up with my grandfather, talking about how he grew up, and they lived in a one-bedroom house with 10 plus kids, and talked about how his parents had a huge struggle with living in Spain and not having a lot in Spain, and then they finally came over here, and he went from, like I said, living in a one-bedroom house to becoming one of the most successful college football coaches in the world. And to see where he came from, to see what he fought through, what his family fought through, I know how blessed I am to be in the position I am.
I don't necessarily know family history, but my dad passed when I was young. And yeah, for me, single moms is so huge. So about 5 years ago through my church, got connected with a great organization where you building homes for single moms, but at the same time, the young man is able to learn how to do construction. So it's always been a way that I try to get back, not just there, but just even in our own country.
You should be proud to show where you're from and the part of you that you know what I mean, that you originate from, just showing the part of you that you're proud of and being able to represent your country and part of what makes you you.
I love hearing those stories from Jake Ferguson and Osa Odighizuwa, and they'll be rocking the flags of their heritage on the back of their helmet all the way through this Cowboys season. So keep an eye on that. Thank you very much, Nicole Hutchinson. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about one of those players rocking the international flag. Brandon Cooks off to a hot start with his touchdown in Week 1. How does he continue it going up against the Saints?
Cowboys Pregame Live was brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, and by SWBC Mortgage. Join the more than 120,000 customers that we've helped to find their happier way home. Visit swbcmortgage.com to find a pro today.
Wrapping up the TV version of Cowboys Pregame Live, back here with Isaiah Stanback. I'm Kyle Yeomans. We'll be continuing on DallasCowboys.com momentarily, but it's time to get the fans involved.
Let's go.
A little bit here. We've got Jamie from San Marcos with our fan question of the week. Jamie?
Hey guys, this is Jamie from San Marcos. My question for this week's game is what can we expect to see from Brandon Cooks playing against his former team? Thanks, guys.
I like the question. I like the beard, too. I'm trying to get like that one day.
Luscious locks?
He's got it all working for him. Yeah. So is Brandon Cooks, though, on the offensive side of the football. Going up against the team that drafted him, the New Orleans Saints, how does he have success today?
I think that, first of all, I don't believe that they have the personnel to really match up against Brandon Cooks. He's one of the most appreciated players in this league. He's somebody now who has CeeDee Lamb playing on the outside with him. So there's going to be a lot of attention played towards 88. When there's a lot of attention played towards 88, number 3 gets disrespected in terms of expectations. He goes out there and eats against these guys because as soon as they roll to a single high shell, and they try to double up over there on CD, he's going to be man-to-man on the outside, and he's going to have plenty of opportunities to go ahead and win.
And there are opportunities for all of these receivers to have success in that secondary, especially with Marshawn Lattimore out. How does that change it from the Saints' defensive side?
Well, you're talking about you're putting your 3rd or maybe your 4th best cornerback against one of the league's best receivers. I don't care how you want to lay it out there. CeeDee Lamb's amazing at receiver, but B. Cooks is no slouch, okay? So you try to put your 3rd or 4th best guy against a guy who's a veteran like Brandon Cooks, who's all he ever has done is outside of last year is put up 1,000-yard seasons. You might want to put some help over the top because he's probably going to make you look bad.
And that's exactly what they're going to try and do, and it's going to be a tough task for the Saints to slow things down, especially at home. We pointed out the numbers early. They know how to play at home, the Cowboys on the offensive side of the football. We're not done with Cowboys Pregame Live yet. Move on over to DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys social channels. We've got a couple more minutes of action, exclusive interview with Stephen Jones. We've got a little call your shot. How about that? Isaiah's already pushing his chips to the middle of the table with his bold prediction this week, going all in. He's got some room to make up with as well. We'll see you on the internet side of things. For Barry, Nate, Nicole, Nick, and Isaiah, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Cowboys Pregame Live, presented by WinStar World Casino and Resort, continues on the internet side of things. Welcome in, friends, as AT&T Stadium preps for the Week 2 matchup with the New Orleans Saints. We continue on here from the Star in Frisco and the Globe Life studios. He's Barry Church. He's Isaiah Stanback. He's Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeomans. This is really where we have the most fun on the internet side of things. TV's great and all. We had TXA 21. We love our partners over there. But the internet is where all the real diehard Cowboys fans watch Cowboys Pregame Live every single week. So we appreciate you guys. We're going to give you a little extra juice going into this Week 2 matchup. Let's start with Micah Parsons. Speaking of juice, his cup is overflowing whenever it comes to the juice for Micah Parsons. Led the NFL in pressures last week. He's going to look to continue that again this week, Isaiah, against the New Orleans Saints. What kind of monster has Micah Parsons become?
Well, he's a terror. That's what he is. You started talking about his relationship with Mike Zimmer, and we got some nuggets this week in terms of things that he's allowed to do. Mike Zimmer's allowing him to set the defensive front. He's allowing him to set the entire defense. But you start talking about somebody who lines up at the defensive end position, and he lines up at the 3 technique, and then he lines up at linebacker, and then he goes ahead and goes down to a 5 technique. You don't know where he's going to be at, and he's a matchup nightmare. Regardless of where you're at on his offensive line, he will find you.
Yeah, we all understood that Micah Parsons is one of the best at getting after the quarterback. Rushing the quarterback, that's his forte. But what I loved most about his game last week is he was able to affect the game in so many different ways. He was great against the run. You saw him bat that pass up in the air that ended up getting an interception out there. He's making all the rest of his teammates that much better, and that's the Micah Parsons that we need to see going forward throughout the rest of the season.
As Isaiah said, he's talking to Coach Zimmer. They got a great relationship thus far. And what I like is he can set the defense. That means that he's maturing, understanding his responsibilities. And when you get a guy with that ability, connecting up above the shoulders, lights out.
And, of course, pressure breeds turnovers, right? Whenever you have guys like Micah Parsons, we saw it last week. He tipped a pass in the air, had the pressure on Deshaun Watson. Eric Kendricks was waiting, and there's a pick. That's how things happen and how things go downhill. So that pressure from the front 7 of the Cowboys is going to help out this secondary against those weapons of the New Orleans Saints that we did mention earlier. So my question now turns to you, Barry, our resident defensive back. Kalen Carson had a phenomenal opportunity in Week 1 with his first pick. Trayvon Diggs ended up with a pick in Week 1. How do they have an encore performance tonight?
Well, I think it all starts with communication back there, especially when you got a young guy in Carson out there being a rookie. He needs to be over-communicated. So the linebackers, safeties, everybody needs to let him understand before the play goes what his responsibilities are. Now, both of those cornerbacks, they played great. They were contesting every pass thrown their way. They came downhill, and they were laying the wood on a lot of those guys out there. So for me to continue to have that great stellar play from your secondary, you have to have communication, and that's the key of the quarterback of the defense, which is Kendricks. Also with the safeties back there relaying the message, the communication will be key in that secondary.
communication is absolutely key. But the other thing that key is pressure. You cannot allow Derek Carr to sit back there and throw the rock. The Carolina Panthers were unable to get some pressure on him. And then what ended up happening? 47 points. It won't happen today because Dallas Cowboys have pressure coming from everywhere. Doesn't care if it's Micah, doesn't matter if it's D-Law, doesn't matter if it's Marshawn Nealon with 6 pressures. These guys are getting in the backfield, and that works to Dallas's advantage in the secondary because these guys like to run a lot of deep routes, 14, 18 yards deep. And when your quarterback's sitting back there waiting on the receivers to get downfield, you have time to get back there and get pressure on him all day long. Look forward to Dallas get some sacks and enforce some turnovers.
You have to stop that run early and put it onto the streaky quarterback arm. He's streaking. If you can break that rhythm he's in right now, then everything that you guys talked about will be very successful.
And then on the other side, the cornerback position a little bit thinner. I asked Isaiah this question already, but I do want to forward it to you. What does Marshawn Nealon being out for the Saints secondary, how does that change things for them?
You mean Marshawn Lattimore? Yeah,
Marshawn Lattimore,
it's
excuse
perfect.
me, sorry.
With him being out of there, I mean, they become extremely young. You got a young cornerback already starting out there. You got Paulson Adebo out there as well. So they're going to have to over-communicate as well when you talk about that young secondary out there. But to me, I still feel like CeeDee Lamb, Cooks, and Tolbert, they can take advantage of a young secondary out there. And if they can block up for Dak Prescott out there, he should have a big afternoon.
It's called stress. You know, stress. I mean, you can get it in a pipe and fraction it'll blow open. That's what's going to happen because everybody got to move up a man. Now your number 2 quarterback got to stick a CeeDee Lamb and then moves on to Cook. Boy, his thing going to be over real quick.
I didn't know Nate was a
Did you
plumber.
see the
He was talking about
left and right. Here we go. The knees is feeling good, man.
He's got the elbow pads rolling. Might as well.
He's
Might
ready
as well.
to roll.
All right, guys. This is becoming quickly one of my favorite segments of the entire week. This is Call Your Shot. Bold predictions on Pregame Live. Here's our standings so far. Take a look at Big Nate up top. He only wagered 1 point last week. He got it right. He goes up into the lead. Me and Barry wagered 1 point. We lost. And then look down there at the bottom. Isaiah Stanback is at the bottom of the standings. And once again, just a reminder, you wager the amount of points you can win. So let's say we want to wager 1 point. If you win it, you win 1, you lose 1 on the opposite side. Isaiah, you only got 2 points.
It was a formality. Listen up, y'all. Last week it was a strip sack. Okay, I said that he wouldn't. That Tyler Guyton would not give up a sack against Myles Garrett,
right.
And it was a strip. Okay, he just stripped him. Dak Prescott never even hit the floor. It's a formality.
It's a strip sack. Isaiah.
Yeah,
Sacks
It's a
being
strip
the key
sack.
word.
he never went to the ground. He never went to the ground.
I think
It's okay, though. I'm gonna
even
get it back.
Tyler Guyton, I was talking to Tyler Guyton earlier this week. He said that's the first sack I've ever given up. So even he admits it.
Yeah.
It's a sack. So you got 2 points.
been brainwashed.
We'll let you start things off, though. What are you wagering this week?
Okay, let's go ahead and talk about it, okay? They like to put up some points offensively. Matter of fact, the only team in the NFL to score 47 points back-to-back games going all the way back to last year. However, not today. Dallas Cowboys going to get in that backfield and put some pressure in towards Derek Carr's face, okay? 2 interceptions for this Dallas Cowboys defense at least.
You know what? And I'm going to admit it. My say it with your chest, be
Say it with
tough,
your chest,
bold
yeah.
predictions have not been bold. I got Alvin Kamara.
Kamara.
I know I was going to mess it up. He would not rush total yards.
Okay.
Is it total yards?
Scrimmage yards.
Scrimmage
yes.
yards.
He's got me so nervous. Scrimmage yards. I had it at 115 and I jumped it up to 120 that he would not get that for 1 point.
Well, you got to be bold.
I can't not this
He's
early in
had
the
50
season.
games
I'm
over
scared.
100 yards
I'm
of
scary.
scrimmage.
I'm scared.
Halloween's
Okay.
He's
coming
collecting
up.
points, though. He is collecting
What
points.
you got, Barry?
For me, I'm wagering 1 point out there that the Dallas Cowboys defense will have at least 3 sacks on Derek Carr out there. 1 point. 1 point. I mean, I don't like losing points. I lost points last week, so this week I got to get that thing back. So I believe that D-Law, Osa, those guys out there, they'll get after Derek Carr, make life hard. I'm going 1 point, 3 sacks, though, for sure. At least 3 sacks.
Here's a little context, too. I appreciate the 1 point approach right now. We're in week 2 of 18, gentlemen. We got a long way to go. And Isaiah's already with his last point sitting on the table. So from here on out, he would only be able to win 1 back at a time. So hoping something happens in favor for Isaiah. Mine is going to be a little bit more. I'm going to go with 2 points here because I'm this confident. We talked earlier about CeeDee Lamb and his effectiveness at home. He averaged 119 yards receiving last year with 8 touchdowns at AT&T Stadium. I say here in week 2, his second week back from the camp holdout in the contract dispute. He's going to go for 100 yards receiving today, put 2 points on the board. Ooh. He's going to hit that triple digits for the first time this season, and it won't be the last one as well. So you got 2 points on the board. I'm trying to catch up to Nate.
That's kind of weak like
How's that weak? He hasn't had, he had 61 yards last week.
Baby.
I got
a loan for you.
Should have what?
I got one for you.
Let's go back out to AT&T Stadium. Nick Eatman is standing by with Cowboys COO Stephen Jones.
Thank you, Kyle. I'm here with Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer, and a lot of stars are out here. I mean, I don't know, you got Jerry Jones, Tom Brady, Mike Tyson, anybody else here?
Well, that's what's so great about the NFL. We attract interest from so many different groups. Obviously, Tom Brady sits atop our sporting game in terms of being the GOAT and championships. And certainly great to visit with him and the way he goes about how he's going to go about really spreading a good word about our game in the booth. And so that's exciting. And then, of course, Mike Tyson, I can't believe it. He's getting ready to fight.
Right.
I think he's going to fill this place up.
Oh, yeah.
So he and Paul are going to get after it, and that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I know you were talking to him. Everybody in a good mood down there. You know, you don't want to make anyone mad. You know, any fighters.
That's it. We don't need any ruckus there. But obviously, this team here, they're not worried about any of that.
Right.
They're eyes on the ball as it should be, because these Saints are a really good football team. Their offense is going to pose a lot of problems. I mean, old Kubiak, young man over there, his brother works with us in scouting as a national scout. But he's a chip off the old Shanahan, McVay, McDaniels block, and they're going to create a lot of challenges for us. And then same goes for the defense. There's not a lot of easy throws out there, and we'll be challenged. So this is a good football team.
Back in training camp, I remember you saying you had a lot of tight end depth, and you really liked your tight end depth. You're going to need it today, obviously, with Jake Ferguson out, John Stevens. What do you like about that position?
Well, that's the depth. I mean, obviously, Schoonmaker had a great game last week. Really expect him to step up, given his opportunity here, and then Span Ford obviously has done a great job to earn a spot as a college free agent, and then Fant, just great to have a utility guy like that around. He's a little like Lepke there, and then on top of that, he's a great special teams player, so he'll step in and do a good job for us.
Last season, you guys have, basically beat everybody by 30 points here at home. You really are taking advantage of this AT&T Stadium and home crowd. What do you like about being here, and why has it been such an advantage for you?
Well, let's start with our fans. I mean, they're what make it. I mean, they make the culture, they make the enthusiasm, the atmosphere. Obviously out here to support us like no other, and certainly always great to be playing at home. Obviously, I think we've won like 16 regular season games in a row now, but this is going to be a challenge today, and we're going to need our fans. We're going to need the atmosphere, and but I know our guys got their eye on the ball and ready to go.
What does a 2-0 start mean for just building momentum? I know it's still a lot of football to be played, but something about when you start off 2-0, it just seems like it gives you a little bit more boost.
Well, having some changes, on this team. Obviously the big change at the defensive coordinator spot with Coach Zim. We were really interested to see how that was going to work out, putting our personnel with him, and obviously did a hell of a job against a good Cleveland team. But he'll be challenged today, and the other thing is just seeing these young guys step up, this rookie class. I mean, we had 5 guys playing at a high level, and I really include really 6 if you include Overshone, who didn't get to play last year. Obviously one of the best players on the field last week, and I just think we got a good football team here, and a 2-0 start. All that does is build confidence for young guys, and help you get ready for the rest of the season. As you said, a long year. You don't ever take a game for granted in this league, or you get bit. So I know our guys are ready to go.
All right, sounds great. Thank you for stopping by. I know how busy you are. A lot of people here, a lot of stars on the sidelines and on the field today. So Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. Kyle, we'll throw it back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Nick and Steven. You can see the white towels laying over the chairs in AT&T Stadium. It just feels right to be back in Arlington. And like you said, the stars are out. Mike Tyson roaming around the sidelines. Jake Paul's out there. Omar Epps is out there. I even heard a rumor that Shaquille O'Neal, Shaq, is going to be in the stadium as well. Isaiah said that earlier.
You got the juice now.
Yeah.
The juice, baby.
So the stars are out. Of course, Tom Brady, Kevin Burkhardt, Aaron Andrews will be on the call for Fox in a little bit. But before we let you go, time to give our keys to the game. Barry Church, What's the key to victory and a 2-0 start to the 2024 season?
Well, for me, going against the Saints, the keys of the game has got to be make life hard for Derek Carr. All right, you got to pressure him. And I understand that defensive line for the Cowboys, they're going to be coming hard. You got Osa, you got Parsons, you got D-Law out there. You got to make things hard for this man, all right? You got to get him seeing Ghost out there, happy feet in the pocket. We know once that starts happening to Derek Carr, he's known to turn the football over. And when you win the turnover battle 90% of the time, you're going to win the game. So go out there and make life hard for Derek Carr.
I like that one. I like it a lot. Okay. But I'm going to go with the fact this offense has to score points on 70% of their drives.
Wow.
You're playing against a team that, again, history says in the week 1 and week 18, they've scored 47 points. That's no fluke. That's called consistency. So when you're playing an opponent like that, regardless of how good your defense is, you have to make sure that you put your defense in position to be successful by giving them a little bit of a buffer so that they can have a little bit of air, okay? You got to score points on 70% of your drives. That's field goals and touchdowns. I'll take however I can get it, but we need points.
I think if our center, Cooper Beebe, plays well, last week he was a helper. He had just a linebacker sitting over his head 90% of the time. They would do overs and unders this time, so they have a guy over his head. And their coach loves to blitz from all different angles. So he's not only got to call the protection, but he's got to deal with a guy right over his head. Remember during training camp, we're kind of worried about his snaps. We can't let that rise up. And then, once again, make sure the middle of our defense don't do anything crazy. Stay strong, be ready to run. We can handle this.
You're dropping all sorts of knowledge right now.
Yes, indeed.
But all I can see is the shoulder or the elbow pads. I feel like every time you're directing traffic, it's just to show off the little elbow pad.
Is that another professor thing? Or?
The professor, I like it.
love it.
Professor Nate Newton and Newton's Laws. Isaiah, you talked about 70% of your drives. 46.5 is the over-under. If that's the case, we're going to see you push that over for those that are out there and love that betting game per se. We can't do that. We're NFL employees. That does it for us here on Cowboys Pregame Live. We've got noon kickoff coming your way next. Fox NFL. We've got Tom Brady, Kevin Burkhardt, Aaron Andrews on the call. We'll see you for a full slate of post-game reaction on the first word, Cowboys Game Night in Cowboys OT. For Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton, Nicole Hutchinson, Nick Heatman, I'm Kyle Yeomans. We'll see you after the game.